Welcome to Sincerely Me, a podcast about self-discovery and inner work so you can cultivate a deeper relationship to yourself and show up more fully in your work and life. My name is Tallia and I'm honored to be your host. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. So today's conversation was inspired by the 5-day mental fitness challenge that I'm running over on IGTV this week, all about practical tips and tools to help you build a stronger mind. And yesterday's topic for day 3 was taking ownership over your successes. And it's very much tied to what many of us know today to be imposter syndrome, or more correctly termed imposter phenomenon, because a syndrome, I think, alludes to something that can be diagnosed, and imposter phenomenon is more of an experience that people tend to have. So what I wanted to do today is talk about imposter phenomenon in more detail, because on IGTV I'm trying to keep the practices between 2 to 6 minutes and realized there was so much more I could have shared yesterday in the lesson. So I'm going to share a little bit more in detail today about imposter phenomenon and the cycle of imposter phenomenon, what it looks like, how to break the pattern if you tend to feel like an imposter, tend to feel like a fake or a fraud, afraid that you're going to drop the ball, the curtain's going to be pulled back on you tomorrow, and everyone's going to kind of find out that you have no idea what the heck you're doing and that you don't deserve to be where you are today in your work. So here is how imposter phenomenon takes shape. Here's what it looks like. So the first step in the cycle is that you're presented with some kind of task or opportunity, responsibility, or project at work. And we call this an achievement task. And you get excited because this achievement task is an opportunity for success, but it presents a conflict in your mind. You are kind of met with two things. One is this deep desire and drive to succeed and the excitement that comes with that. And there's also kind of this immediate underlying dread and fear of failure. What if you don't achieve success? What if this is the moment where everybody finds out you have no idea what the heck you're doing? So what this ends up manifesting into is 2 categories of people. You either might identify as a procrastinator or as a perfectionist or workaholic. So let me explain. For those who, again, are either met with the excitement or the dread, the fear of failure, some of us might procrastinate, wait until the last minute, and then go into this like frenzied work binge and get the job done. For others who are conflicted in this desire of success, but also fear of failure, they'll over-prepare. And these are the workaholics, right? You wake up super early, you're working all day, you're putting in hard hours, blood, sweat, tears, you forget about yourself, you stop eating, you do nothing else but work in this effort to drive a perfect result or perfect outcome. So whatever it is you decide, whether you tend to procrastinate and work last minute or over prepare and overwork, you eventually finish the project or the responsibility, and there's this like immediate sense of relief because the experience of completing it was so intense for you, whether it was the overworking or the procrastinating last minute. And the relief, however, is pretty short-lived because almost immediately after that, you start to anticipate that you are going to completely bomb or fail, and that, again, everyone's going to find out. And like worst case scenario is that everyone around you perceives you as a failure. And you start to get overly consumed with everyone's opinions about your work, about your abilities, about you. Regardless of that, you end up doing a fine job. Right? If you're here listening to this, most folks who experience imposter phenomenon are actually very high achievers and high performers. So you finish the thing, you receive praise, it was deemed to be a success. But what happens here is that it reinforces the anxiety, it reinforces the work style that you chose, it reinforces the procrastination or the overworking. So now your mind says, okay, but I succeeded. I must be smart. I must be capable. I must be competent. But there's another part of you that believes yourself to be highly incompetent, intellectually inferior, inadequate, a fraud, a fake. And for those of us who struggle with imposter phenomenon, that's the voice that wins. I'm incompetent. I shouldn't be here. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And what you do is you begin to explain to yourself why you achieved success. And you make excuses and say, well, the only reason why I achieved success, since I'm so incompetent, is because I overworked, I put in a lot of hours, or because I procrastinated, or because I got lucky, time was on my side, it was my team. We look externally and attribute the success to everything but ourselves. I hope you're following me because I'm talking a million miles an hour here. So what this does is basically turn you to this core belief that you will only achieve success if you over-prepare, overwork, workaholic, perfectionist, or if you procrastinate and kind of like default to luck being on your side, because in some ways it's quote unquote worked for you and led to your success. So that's where we get caught. We get caught in this kind of self-perpetuating cycle. And again, what gets reinforced are the earlier parts of the pattern where your work style choice, the over-preparedness or the procrastination, becomes a necessary part of the eventual success, right? Because that's what led to the success. It wasn't you, it was all of these external things. So when you discount your success, when you start believing that it wasn't you, but it was all these other things outside of you or the way that you worked, it strengthens the fear and the anxiety that next time you'll fail. Next time someone's going to reveal the fact that you're a fraud and a fake and don't know what the heck you're doing. So that's kind of how the cycle perpetuates itself. It maintains itself so that the imposter phenomenon, so that feeling starts becoming familiar because you start to credit the success to the feeling, if that makes sense. So the key here, the key to breaking this pattern is to start taking ownership of your successes, to stop blaming and pointing to and giving credit to being a hard worker, putting in the hours, over preparing, being a superhuman, or luck and time and procrastination. It's making sure your mind also looks at the things internal to you. What internally can you attribute these successes to? So start by identifying 3 successes in life. What are the 3 most recent successes you've achieved in your work? Now, you can kind of practice this in one of 2 ways. First is to go to all the external attributes your mind tends to credit the success to. Time, luck, overworking, over-preparing, not sleeping. Maybe you tend to credit your successes to other people, to your team, to having a great client, right? You're continuing to point to everything outside of you. The other part of this being making a list of the internal things. I'm capable, and here's why. Here are my talents. This is what about me contributed to this success. So laying, I never know which word to use here. Laying out these different attributes, the external ones and the internal ones, can help just bring your mind back to the truth and the facts and break this perpetuating cycle of overworking or procrastination, of perfectionism, of being a workaholic, if that's how you tend to identify and how you tend to work. And when you break the pattern is when you realize that it's you. It's not luck. It's not anything outside of you. It's your talent that is the key to your success. And it's time to take ownership over what it is that you bring and how you contribute to the successes you have created in your own life. That was a whole lot of information, folks. This pattern and cycle tends to be a little bit easier to explain with a visual, but here we are just on a podcast. So I hope you were able to follow. If you have any further questions about imposter phenomenon or want to know more, there are so many resources online. The woman who actually termed this whole experience in this phrase, her name is Dr. Pauline Clance, and you can actually look her up online. I'll go ahead and link her information in the show notes. There's also a really cool survey or assessment you can take to identify where you fall on the scale for imposter phenomenon, how likely you are to have those tendencies. So be sure to check that out as well. And if you are not following along IGTV for the 5-day mental fitness challenge, be sure to do so. You can hop in at any time of the week, or obviously if you're listening to this after this week, you can definitely head over to the IGTV channel and take a look at some of the practices that I have been sharing. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. I hope it gave a little bit more clarity and context to yesterday's practice. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Tallia Delju. A lot of fun, exciting things coming up. As always, the Bali retreat is still happening. Obviously, that was a very weird thing to say. We are sold out of one of our room options, but there are plenty of options left for you. So be sure to check that out. I'll be co-hosting with Deborah and Quabelle. Lots of details are available on the website. It is going to be taking place in October 4th through the 9th. And I think we have 8 or 9 folks already signed up, and we're so excited. Other than that, I also do have another retreat coming up locally here in Atlanta. I have not announced this on social media yet, but stay tuned for that announcement and mark your calendar. Save the date, April 3rd through the 5th. More on that to come. Please, if you like this episode, let me know. Give me a shout out on Instagram. Subscribe, rate, review. It means the absolute world. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Sincerely, me.